I unlocked my mom's secret app and found the terrifying plan to kill my father. I'm sitting in the guest room of my own house right now, typing this on a burner laptop because I don't even trust the Wi-Fi anymore. If I sound paranoid, it's because I've spent the last 48 hours realizing that my entire 19-year existence has been a carefully curated stage play. I'm Leo, and I'm 19. I just got back from my freshman year of college 3 weeks ago. My parents live in one of those prestige-gated communities in the Pacific Northwest, the kind of place where people get passive-aggressive emails if their lawn is a quarter-inch too long. My mom, Sarah, is basically the queen of this neighborhood. She's the one who organizes the charity 5Ks and the holiday block parties. My dad is a quiet, high-level corporate guy who works a lot but adores her. They've been married for 22 years. The perfect family, right? That's what I thought until Tuesday. It started with something stupid. Mom was out in the backyard deadheading her roses, and she'd left her iPad on the kitchen island. I was grabbing a Gatorade when the screen lit up with a notification. It wasn't a text or a Facebook alert. It was a notification from an app called Garden Diary. The icon was just a simple pink rose. The notification said, "The delivery is at the side door. See you at 4?" At the end of the message was a winking smiley face. Now, my mom is obsessed with her garden, but she doesn't do winky faces. She doesn't even use emojis correctly. She usually sends the crying, laughing face when someone dies because she thinks it's a sobbing face. That winky face felt like a glitch in the Matrix. I picked up the iPad. I didn't know her passcode, but the afternoon sun was hitting the screen at a perfect 45-degree angle. You could see the grease marks from her fingers, a clear, repeated pattern. A triangle, then a double tap on the bottom right. I tried a few combinations of dates in my head. My birthday? No. Their anniversary? No. Then it hit me. 071422. 7 was my jersey number in middle school. 14 was my high school number. 22 was my current college number. She'd always called them her lucky numbers. The iPad clicked open. I went straight for the Garden Diary app. When I tapped the rose icon, it didn't open a diary. A keypad popped up. My heart was starting to do this weird, erratic thumping against my ribs. I entered the same lucky code. The app didn't have notes about soil pH or fertilizer. It was an encrypted vault. There were folders, thousands of photos, thousands of messages. I clicked on the most recent thread, expecting a standard bored housewife affair. I was prepared for some cringy flirting. I was not prepared for what I actually saw. There were photos of a house. Not our house. A modern minimalist condo with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of the Sound. And in almost every photo, my mom was there. Wearing clothes I'd never seen before, drinking wine I didn't recognize, looking relaxed. Not PTA queen relaxed, but actually home. The messages were with a guy saved as groundskeeper. Groundskeeper. Check the mail at the unit. The new tax documents for the LLC arrived. Are you coming over after grocery shopping or should I leave them on the counter? Mom, I'll be there by 2 o'clock. I told David I have a long committee meeting today. I need to check the balance on the Reno account. I think we have enough for the boat now. I felt like the floor had turned into liquid. David is my dad. The committee meetings she's been going to every Tuesday and Thursday for the last 3 years, those were her shift at her other life. I scrolled further back, my hands shaking so hard I almost dropped the iPad. It wasn't just photos of them. It was screenshots of bank transfers. Massive ones. I'm talking $5,000, $8,000, $12,000 a month, all being moved from my dad's home improvement fund into something called Luna Vista Holdings LLC. I heard the back door slide open. The sound of Mom's gardening clogs on the hardwood was like a gunshot. Leo, honey, are you in there? I locked the iPad, shoved it back exactly where it was, and ducked into the pantry just as she walked into the kitchen. I watched her through the crack in the door. She looked so normal. She was humming a song, checking her reflection in the microwave door, and smoothing her hair. She picked up the iPad, smiled at the screen, and tucked it into her designer tote bag. I'm heading out, Leo, she called out. I've got that zoning board meeting. Tell your father I'll be back for dinner around 7 o'clock. I waited until I heard her SUV pull out of the driveway. I didn't go back to my room. I went straight to my dad's office and pulled up the GPS history on our shared family account. I wanted to see exactly where this zoning board was meeting. When the dot stopped moving, my blood went cold. She wasn't at City Hall. She wasn't even out of the neighborhood. She was at a condo complex exactly 3 minutes down the road. A place my dad and I drive past every single day. I'm standing in our driveway now, staring at my car keys. I know I should wait. I know I should call my dad, but I need to see if the groundskeeper is who I think he is. Because the name on those tax documents I saw in the app, it wasn't a stranger's name. It was our family's financial advisor. I'm sitting in my car, parked 2 blocks away from the Soundview luxury lofts, and I feel like I'm breathing through a straw. It took me exactly 3 minutes and 12 seconds to drive here. My dad and I pass this place every time we go to the hardware store or the gym. We've joked about the overpriced glass boxes for years. My dad even called them midlife crisis starter kits. I guess he didn't realize the irony. I stayed in the shadows of the visitor parking garage. I didn't want Mom's SUV to spot me, but it wasn't hard to find her. She was parked right in front of Unit 4B, and right next to her, a silver Lexus. I knew that car. I'd ridden in it. It belonged to Marcus, my dad's best friend from college and our family's financial advisor for the last decade. Marcus is the guy who gave me a $500 Amazon gift card for my high school graduation. He's the guy who sits at our Thanksgiving table and tells my dad that his portfolio is growing like a weed. I got out of my car, keeping my hoodie up. The northwest drizzle was starting to soak through my sweatshirt, but I didn't care. I needed to see them. I needed to know if I was just crazy or if my life was actually a dumpster fire. The Sound View is one of those industrial chic buildings, lots of glass and steel. Unit 4B is on the ground floor with a private patio hidden behind some high-end landscaping. I crept along the perimeter fence, feeling like a common criminal in my own neighborhood. I reached the edge of the patio's cedar slats and looked through the gap. The interior was gorgeous. It looked like a spread from Architectural Digest. It was clean, modern, and expensive. Nothing like the cozy, slightly cluttered suburban home my dad has been paying off for 20 years. My mom was inside. She wasn't wearing her gardening mom fleece. She was in a silk slip dress, holding a glass of wine, laughing at something Marcus was saying. Marcus was sitting at a marble kitchen island, his laptop open. He wasn't looking at stock options. He was looking at a map of the Caribbean. "The boat slip in St. Bart's is confirmed," Marcus said. His voice was muffled by the glass, but I could hear him clearly enough in the quiet evening air. "But we need to move the final $40,000 from David's equity line before the end of the month. If he checks the statement, tell him it's for the foundation repairs we talked about." My mom leaned over and kissed his cheek. "He won't check. He's too busy trying to hit his quarterly bonus. He thinks we're saving for a second honeymoon in Tuscany." She laughed. It was a sound I'd heard my entire life. Warm, maternal, comforting. Now, it sounded like glass breaking in my ears. "I can't wait to be done with the Sarah act," she said, tracing the rim of her glass. "The PTA meetings, the fake smiles for the neighbors. God, Marcus, 3 more months and we can just disappear." "The LLC is airtight," Marcus replied, his tone clinical, like he was discussing a routine tax audit. "By the time David realizes the home improvement account is empty, we'll be offshore. The house is the only thing left. We might have to let him keep that just to keep the lawyers off our backs." "Let him have it," my mom snapped. "I never liked the color of the kitchen anyway." I felt a surge of nausea so violent I had to lean against the cedar fence to keep from throwing up. They weren't just having an affair. They were harvesting my father. They were stripping his life for parts like he was a wrecked car on the side of the road. I pulled out my phone. I wanted to record them, but my hands were shaking so badly the footage looked like an earthquake. I managed to get 30 seconds of them clinking glasses over the laptop before I heard a car door slam behind me. A security guard was making his rounds in the visitor lot. I didn't think. I bolted. I ran back to my car, peeled out of the lot, and drove aimlessly for an hour, screaming at the top of my lungs until my throat was raw. When I finally pulled back into our driveway, my dad's car was home. The lights were on in the living room. Through the window, I could see him sitting in his recliner, probably reading a report or watching the news, waiting for his wife to come home from her zoning board meeting. He looked so small, so vulnerable. I walked into the house, and the smell of the cinnamon candles my mom likes made me want to scream again. I went straight to the kitchen to get a glass of water, trying to act normal, when I saw it on the counter. A manila envelope from Marcus's firm. It was addressed to my dad, but it had been opened. Inside was a mid-year wealth report. I looked at the numbers. Everything looked fine. The balances were high, the growth was steady. But I knew what I'd seen on that iPad. These weren't real statements. Marcus was printing fake reports to keep my dad in the dark while they drained the actual accounts. My dad walked into the kitchen, rubbing his eyes. "Hey, Leo, your mom still out at that meeting?" "Yeah," I said, my voice cracking. "She said she'd be back by 7. "That woman works too hard for this neighborhood," he sighed, patting me on the shoulder. "Listen, Marcus is coming over for brunch on Sunday. He says he has some exciting news about our retirement fund. We might be able to retire early, kid. How about that?" I looked at my dad, the man who worked 60 hours a week so I could go to a good college, and I realized I couldn't just tell him. Not yet. If I told him now, Marcus would vanish with the money before we could freeze anything. I need the paper trail. I need to get into Marcus's portal. This is getting harder. Living in this house for the last 24 hours has been like acting in a horror movie where I'm the only one who knows where the killer is hiding. I spent Wednesday morning watching my mom. She was in the kitchen, making artisanal avocado toast and humming along to a podcast about mindful living. It's sickening. Every time she smiled at me, all I could see was her in that silk slip dress, clinking glasses with Marcus while they planned to leave my dad with a hollowed-out bank account and a kitchen color she never liked. I knew I couldn't just wait for Sunday's brunch. By then, that $40,000 transfer Marcus mentioned might already be gone. I needed the paper trail, the actual trail, not the photos of a screen. I told my dad I wanted to talk to Marcus about investment strategies for the graduation money I'd saved up. Dad beamed. He's so proud that I'm taking an interest in my future. He called Marcus, and Marcus, ever the helpful uncle, told me to swing by his office at 2 p.m. Marcus's office is exactly what you'd expect. Mahogany, leather chairs, and that old money smell that's actually just the scent of high-end scams. "Leo, good to see you, Tiger," Marcus said, leaning back in his chair. He looked me right in the eye. No guilt, no twitch. The man is a sociopath. "Your dad says you're looking to diversify? Smart move." "Yeah," I said, my heart hammering against my ribs so hard I thought he'd see it through my shirt. "I just want to see how the Luna Vista-style portfolios work. My mom mentioned it's what you guys use for the home improvement stuff." The air in the room shifted. It was subtle, a slight tightening of his jaw, a half-second delay in his smile. "Luna Vista? That's just a private equity firm I consult for," he said smoothly. "A bit too high risk for a kid your age. Let's look at some index funds." He spent the next 20 minutes pulling up boring charts. I played the part of the dumb college kid, nodding and asking logical questions. But I was watching his hands. Every time he needed to authorize a view, he used a physical hardware key, a YubiKey, key, plugged into his USB port. And his password? He typed it with 2 fingers, fast, but I'm a gamer. I've spent my life watching frame rates. SARAH99, my mom's name, and 1999, the year they supposedly met in college. My dad thinks he met Marcus in 99. Apparently, they both did. I waited for my moment. "Actually, Marcus, I think I left my phone in the lobby. Let me grab it real quick so I can take photos of these charts." "Sure, go ahead." I walked out, but I didn't go to the lobby. I went to the break room and grabbed a stack of napkins, then accidentally tripped over the trash can near the secretary's desk, causing a minor scene. While she was distracted, I slipped back toward Marcus's office. He wasn't in his chair. He had stepped out to the balcony to take a call. I could see him through the glass, pacing, looking agitated. I dived for his desk. The YubiKey key was still in the slot. The screen was live. I didn't have time to browse. I jammed my own high-speed thumb drive into the back port and ran a portable file grabber script I'd used for a coding project last semester. I targeted the folder labeled LVH, 10%, 40%, 80%. My eyes were glued to Marcus on the balcony. He was turning around. I yanked my drive out just as the door handle turned. "Find it?" he asked, stepping back in. "Yeah," I said, patting my pocket. "Left it right on the chair. Anyway, I should probably get going. I've got a gym session." I practically ran to my car. I didn't go home. I went to a Starbucks 3 towns over, sat in the far corner, and opened the files. It's worse than I thought. The Luna Vista Holdings folder didn't just have my dad's money. It had a document titled Exit Strategy _Final. It was a step-by-step timeline. Step 1. Drain the equity line, the $40,000. Step 2. File for uncontested divorce on behalf of my father using a forged power of attorney. Step 3. Liquidate the family home via a quick sale LLC that Marcus also owns. But it was the last file that made me go cold. It was a PDF of a life insurance policy. My dad's life insurance policy. 2 weeks ago, the payout was increased to $3 million. And the primary beneficiary had been changed from the estate to Luna Vista Holdings LLC. Underneath the policy scan was a Google Maps printout of a specific stretch of highway near our mountain cabin. There were notes in my mom's handwriting about cell service dead zones and steep embankments. They aren't just planning to rob him. They're planning an accident for the man who thinks they're his best friend and his soulmate. I didn't sleep. I spent the entire night staring at the ceiling, the exit strategy PDF burned into my retinas. I kept thinking about that stretch of highway near the cabin. I've driven it 100 times with my dad. It's a winding 2-lane road with no guardrails and a 400-foot drop into the ravine. I had to act normal. If they realized I'd cloned that drive, I wasn't just a witness anymore. I was a loose end. I came downstairs Thursday morning, and the vibe in the house had shifted. My mom wasn't humming. She was standing by the window, her iPad in one hand, a cup of coffee in the other. She didn't turn around when I walked in. "You were out late last night, Leo," she said. Her voice was flat. "Starbucks doesn't usually keep you until 1 a.m. My heart did a backflip. I forgot she has the location sharing on my Find My app. I'd been so focused on her GPS, I forgot she could see mine. I ran into some guys from high school, I lied, my voice remarkably steady. We went to the diner in Renton, lost track of time. She turned around then. She didn't look angry. She looked pitying. Honey, you've been so jumpy since you got back from school. I'm worried you're not adjusting well. Are you sure you're not seeing things or feeling overwhelmed? The gaslighting started early. She was already planting the unstable seed. I'm fine, Mom, just tired. Well, she said, her face suddenly brightening into that perfect, terrifying PTA smile. Maybe this will help. Look out the front window. I walked to the window. Parked in the driveway right behind my beat-up sedan was a brand new charcoal gray Toyota Tacoma. It had the off-road package, the blacked-out rims, the exact truck I'd been drooling over since I was 16. Early graduation present, she whispered, coming up behind me and putting a hand on my shoulder. Her nails felt like talons. Your father and I and Marcus talked about it. We want you to be happy, Leo. We want you to know we take care of our own. It wasn't a gift. It was hush money. Or worse, it was a GPS-tracked cage. Marcus had talked about it? Of course he had. He was probably using my dad's own money to buy the bribe that would keep me quiet while they planned his accident. Mom, this is too much, I said, my stomach churning. Nonsense, she said. Why don't you take it up to the cabin this weekend? Get some fresh air. Your father is going up Friday night to prep the deck for the summer. You could meet him there. My lungs seized. Friday night. The exit strategy timeline said Step 4, the cabin trip. They were moving the timeline up. I spent the rest of the day in a daze. I tried to call my dad, but he was in back-to-back board meetings and his phone went straight to voicemail. Every time I moved through the house, I felt my mom's eyes on me. She was hovering. At dinner, it got worse. My dad was home, exhausted but happy. He was talking about the brunch on Sunday, how Marcus was going to show him the Luna Vista projections. I saw the truck, Leo. You like it? Dad asked, grinning. It's great, Dad, thanks. Your mother tells me you've been having some trouble sleeping, Dad said, his smile fading into genuine concern. She mentioned you were hallucinating a bit, talking about fake bank statements in your sleep? I looked at my mom. She was calmly cutting her steak, her expression a mask of maternal sorrow. I never said that, I snapped. See? Mom said softly to my dad. He's so defensive lately, David. I think the stress of finals really did a number on him. Maybe he shouldn't drive the new truck to the cabin. Maybe he should just stay here and rest. I'm not crazy. I stood up, my chair screeching against the tile. Nobody said you were, honey, Mom said, her voice like honey and poison. We just want you to get help. Marcus knows a really good therapist who specializes in youthful delusions. We can talk about it at brunch. She was doing it. She was building the narrative. If I told my dad the truth now, she'd just point to my breakdown and the hallucinations. Marcus would back her up. To my dad, I was just a stressed-out kid, and they were the two people he trusted most in the world. I sat back down, forced myself to breathe, and looked at my plate. Sorry, you're right. I'm just really tired. I think I'll go lie down. I went upstairs, but I didn't lie down. I waited until I heard them go to bed. Then I pulled out my phone and checked the dashcam footage from my old car, the one I'd parked near the Soundview lofts. I hadn't just caught them clinking glasses. I'd caught Marcus handing my mom a small amber glass vial. Just 2 drops in his thermos before he hits the mountain pass, Marcus had said. It'll look like he just fell asleep at the wheel, quick, painless, clean. I have the video, I have the files. But I also have a mother who is currently telling my father that I'm losing my mind, and a financial advisor who is coming over in 48 hours to finalize the theft of our lives. Tomorrow is Friday. My dad is planning to drive to the cabin at 5 p.m. I have 16 hours to burn their world down before they kill him. Friday morning was the longest 5 hours of my life. I watched through the kitchen window as my mom prepared my dad's travel kit for the cabin. She was meticulous. She filled his Stanley thermos with black coffee, but I saw her hand tremble for a split second as she reached into her pocket. 2 drops, clear, odorless. She kissed him goodbye in the driveway. Drive safe, David. Call me when you pass the ridge. I didn't stop him then. I couldn't. If I made a scene, she'd call the police on me for a psychotic break, and I'd be the one in a psych hold while Dad drove off a cliff. Instead, I'd spent the previous night borrowing the spark plug wires from his SUV. He cranked the engine. It sputtered and died. He tried again. Nothing. Damn it, he muttered, climbing out. The Toyota is brand new, Leo. Let me take that. Actually, Dad, I said, stepping out onto the porch, the Tacoma's acting weird too. Electronic glitch. I think the whole fleet is down. Mom's face went pale. Her clean window of opportunity was closing. Maybe you should just take an Uber to the train station, David. I don't want you missing the sunset at the lake. Nah, I said. Let's just stay home. Marcus is coming for brunch on Sunday anyway. We can all go up together after that. The look Mom gave me was pure, unadulterated hatred. She knew the game had changed. The following Sunday morning, the real roasting began. The table was set for 4. Smoked salmon, mimosas, and a wealth report binder sitting by Marcus's plate. Marcus arrived at 10 a.m., looking smug in a cashmere sweater. He clapped my dad on the back like they were brothers. "Big day, David," Marcus boomed. "By the time we finish these mimosas, you're basically a retired man." My dad was beaming. My mom was vibrating with tension, her eyes darting toward me every few seconds. She had spent the last 48 hours trying to get me alone, but I'd stayed glued to my dad's side. "Before we get into the numbers," I said, standing up, "I actually made a little welcome home presentation for Dad, for the big retirement." "Oh, Leo, we don't have time for your school projects," Mom started. "I insist," I said, picking up the remote for the 75-inch TV in the living room. "It's about the family legacy. Marcus, you're in this too. You're a huge part of our wealth management, after all." I hit play. It didn't start with photos of us at the beach. It started with the audio from the Garden Diary vault. My mom's voice filled the room crystal clear. "I can't wait to be done with the Sarah act. I never liked the color of the kitchen anyway." The silence in the room was so heavy, I could hear the ice melting in Marcus's drink. My dad's fork hit his plate with a clatter. "Leo, turn that off!" Mom lunged for the remote, but I stepped back. "Wait, Mom, here's the best part. This is from the dash cam of the car you guys tried to bribe me with." The screen flickered to the grainy footage of the Soundview parking lot. There was Marcus, clear as day, handing over the amber vial. Then the audio. 2 drops in his thermos. Looked like he just fell asleep at the wheel. Quick, painless, clean. My dad didn't scream. He didn't even stand up. He just looked at Marcus, then at his wife. He looked like he had aged 20 years in 20 seconds. "David, it's not what it looks like," Marcus stammered, his face turning a sickly shade of gray. This is a deep fake. Leo's been having a breakdown, remember? He's unstable." "I have the thumb drive I pulled from your office, Marcus," I said, my voice cold. "I have the Luna Vista exit strategy. I have the life insurance policy change, and," I pointed out the front window, "I have the state patrol pulling into the driveway." Marcus tried to bolt for the back door, but he didn't even make it past the kitchen island. 2 officers, one of whom I'd spent 6 hours with at the station on Saturday, were already coming through the sliding glass door. The next hour was a blur of handcuffs, Miranda rights, and my mom screaming that I'd ruined everything. She didn't even look at my dad as they let her out. She just stared at me with a look of pure, cold venom. Update. The aftermath. It's been 3 months. The Luna Vista accounts were frozen. Most of the money was recovered. Marcus wasn't as smart as he thought he was, and the offshore accounts were actually just shell companies in Delaware. Dad's still in the middle of a brutal legal battle, but he's alive. He doesn't talk much anymore. He spends a lot of time in the garden, ironically, tearing out every single rosebush my mom ever planted. He sold the big house. We live in a modest apartment now, closer to the city. The Garden Diary app is now Exhibit A in a premeditated attempted murder and grand larceny case. Marcus is looking at 20 years. My mom is trying to take a plea deal, but the DA is being aggressive because of the intent to kill evidence. Last night, Dad and I sat on the balcony of our new place. He held a cup of coffee, his own coffee, made by his own hands, and looked at me. "You saved my life, Leo," he said softly. "I just looked at the screen, Dad," I replied. "No," he said, "you saw the truth. Most people spend their whole lives looking at the screen and never seeing a thing." I'm back at college now. I kept the Toyota Tacoma. The court ruled it was bought with commingled funds, and Dad insisted I keep it. Every time I start the engine, I think about that Friday morning. I don't think I'll ever trust a perfect family again. But at least I know that in my family, the only thing that's real is the 2 of us. Thanks for watching. Like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on real human stories.